January 1943. Night settles over Western Europe. The air is cold and metallic, carrying the faint vibration of engines somewhere beyond the clouds. Inside a German cockpit, instruments glow dimly as a bomber crew scans the darkness ahead. There are no searchlights cutting the sky, no flak bursts to warn them, only silence. Then, without warning, tracer fire arcs upward with surgical accuracy. An American fighter appears where none should be. The interception is not random, it is precise. This moment matters because it marked a turning point in the air war over Europe, a moment when expectation collided with a technological reality the German Luftwaffe had not fully understood. In the early years of the war, German pilots believed that night and weather were their allies. Darkness meant safety. Clouds meant concealment. Radar, they assumed, was a crude early warning device, useful but limited. What they encountered instead was an invisible system that could see through night, fog, and distance, and guide American aircraft with near scientific exactness. Before the United States entered the war, German air doctrine emphasized pilot skill, visual detection, and aggressive initiative. Radar was viewed as supplementary, not decisive. German systems like Freya and Würzburg were impressive for their time, but they were fragmented and often defensive. American doctrine, influenced by British experience and accelerated by industrial scale, treated radar not as a warning tool, but as a central nervous system. By 1942 and 1943, the U.S. Air Forces were integrating ground-controlled interception, airborne radar, and coordinated command centers into a single operational web. German pilots expected confusion in the enemy response. They expected scattered fighters, delayed reactions, and gaps to exploit. What they experienced instead was anticipation. American fighters arrived not late, but early. Not searching, but waiting. Interceptions occurred at altitudes and angles that suggested foreknowledge. After-action reports from German units began to note an unsettling pattern. American aircraft appeared exactly where bombers changed course, climbed, or descended. The sky no longer felt vast. It felt measured. Historical records confirm this shift. By late 1942, American SCR-270 and SCR-527 radar stations, improved versions of earlier systems, were providing accurate range and bearing data. These stations fed information into centralized command posts where officers plotted aircraft movements in real time. From there, vectors were transmitted to interceptor squadrons. The process was methodical, repeatable, and relentless. One German intelligence summary from 1943 acknowledged that Allied radar-directed fighters were achieving unexpected interception accuracy, particularly during night and poor weather. The emotional shock lay not only in being intercepted, but in how it happened. German pilots prided themselves on mastery of the air, on intuition and experience. Yet radar did not rely on intuition. It relied on pulses, regular, invisible emissions that traveled at the speed of light, struck metal, and returned with truth. The recurring hum of radar equipment, though unheard in the cockpit, became a symbolic presence in the war, a steady, mechanical heartbeat of American industry and coordination. Captured German airmen later described a growing sense of exposure. One pilot, interviewed after being shot down in 1944, remarked that flying at night no longer felt like freedom, but like moving under a ceiling of glass. This perception shift was profound. The Luftwaffe had entered the war believing air superiority was a matter of courage and skill. Radar forced a new reality. Air superiority could be engineered. American radar operators, often young and far from combat aircraft themselves, became unseen participants in every interception. They worked in insulated rooms, staring at glowing screens, interpreting blips and echoes. Their roles symbolized a broader American approach to warfare, systematic, resource-heavy, and collaborative. While German doctrine still emphasized individual ace pilots, American success increasingly depended on networks. This technological imbalance was reinforced by production. The United States did not merely invent radar, it manufactured it in enormous quantities, standardized it, improved it, and trained thousands to use it. Radar sets were deployed across coastlines, airfields, and eventually aboard aircraft. The SCR-720 airborne radar, introduced later in the war, allowed American night fighters to detect enemy aircraft independently, further shrinking the sky. For German pilots, this eroded not only tactical advantage, but ideological confidence. The belief that ingenuity and bravery alone could overcome material disparity began to falter. Radar interceptions became symbols of an enemy that did not rely on chance. Each successful American intercept reinforced the sense that the war was being fought not just by men, but by systems. The radar pulse itself became the symbol of this transformation. Invisible, impartial, and constant, it represented American abundance, not just of resources, but of organization and foresight. Unlike flak or searchlights, radar did not announce itself dramatically. It simply worked. Its quiet effectiveness mirrored a democratic industrial power mobilized at scale, where engineers, factory workers, and operators collectively shaped the battlefield. By 1944, the outcome was increasingly clear. German pilots adapted tactics, flew lower, changed routes, and experimented with countermeasures like chaff. These efforts delayed but did not reverse the trend. The radar-guided interception had become a defining feature of Allied air dominance. The sky was no longer a realm of chance encounters. It was mapped, monitored, and controlled. In the epilogue of this story, the radar hum fades into history, but its meaning endures. The German pilots who once trusted darkness learned that modern war had made darkness transparent. The American system they faced was not invincible because of any single invention, but because it reflected a larger truth. Freedom, when supported by abundance and coordination, could project power with precision. The radar pulse, steady, unseen, and unyielding, stands as a reminder that the Second World War was not decided solely by moments of heroism, but by the ability to transform knowledge into action. In that transformation, the air war changed forever, and with it, the balance of the world.